She was burned as a heretic, but 25 years later, the Church would admit their greatest crime. This is the untold finale of Joan of Arc's story. Welcome back to Unseen Saints, where we unveil the dark intersections of faith, crime, and power. In Part 2, we witnessed centuries of betrayal. Joan of Arc abandoned by her king and condemned by her own church. But her story didn't end on the pyre. Today, in our final chapter, we dive into the Retrial that dared to expose the Church's greatest scandal and restore Joan's name. This is the conclusion you never expected. After Joan's execution in 1431, France mourned, but the powers that be quietly moved on. 25 years passed before Joan's family, stung by guilt and scandal, petitioned the Pope. In 1455, Pope Calixtus III authorized an official retrial to examine Joan's original condemnation. Imagine a dusty parchment decree arriving at the Sorbonne. The question to be answered was simple yet explosive. Was Joan of Arc a heretic, or had the Church been complicit in a grievous injustice? Political winds had shifted. France, now free of English occupation, sought unity under Charles VII's reign. The Church, eager to mend its fractured reputation after scandals abroad, seized the chance. A fresh tribunal was convened in Rouen, led by neutral judges and theologians sympathetic to Joan's cause. For the first time, official eyes would turn back to the courtroom, where a teenage girl's fate was sealed. Witnesses emerged from silence. Former jailers told harrowing tales. Joan, bound in chains, wore men's clothes only to preserve her dignity and safety. They admitted they'd been bribed to testify against her. Clergy who sat on the original bench confessed they'd been pressured by English agents. Even one English envoy, aged and remorseful, signed an affidavit the trial was a sham. As testimony poured in, the atmosphere grew electric. Transcripts of Joan's words were read aloud. Her unwavering faith, her insistence that God's mandate superseded any earthly institution. One former prosecutor, tears in his eyes, recalled urging Joan to recant under threat of torture. He confessed his guilt in a voice trembling with regret. Obstacles emerged. Some families of the original judges feared reprisal. Church archives had been misplaced. But each time, new records surfaced. Letters from Charles VII instructing silence. Private memos among bishops expressing fear of Joan's sanctity, undermining their authority. Every revelation tightened the net around those who'd orchestrated her downfall. The retrial's investigators delved into forgotten archives in Paris, Avignon, and Rouen. They discovered sealed letters, one from a high-ranking bishop confessing, "We must discredit her or lose our priory lands." Another from the English crown, praising the Church's wise handling of Joan. Secret trial minutes, annotated in margins in Latin, detailed how leading theologians coached witnesses to ask loaded questions. In a candle-lit scriptorium, scholars found a pattern: confessions extracted under duress, coerced admissions of heresy, and a feverish determination to condemn. Even the accused scribe, now elderly, provided a handwritten note. He'd added the damning question: "Do you submit to the Church's authority over God's will?" Evidence mounted. Forensic historians examined an original fragment of Joan's armor, noting scorch marks inconsistent with execution fires. Proof of ritual mockery. Legal experts compared medieval canon law, concluding Joan's trial violated multiple statutes. No legal counsel refashioned charges mid-trial, and a predetermined outcome. With each piece of evidence, the urgency grew. France watched. The Vatican trembled. Why, after a quarter millennium, did the Church finally relent? Was it genuine remorse or a calculated political maneuver? The truth lay in the convergence of three forces: the French crown's need for unity, the Church's desire to restore its moral authority after papal corruption scandals, and rising popular devotion to Joan's memory among commoners. Charles VII's grandson, King Louis XI, steered the process. He recognized that Joan had become a symbol of French identity, a rallying point against foreign influence. Meanwhile, some cardinals, haunted by the Church's tarnished reputation, quietly supported the retrial. They saw in Joan's canonization a path to healing the wounds of the 100 Years' War. Yet resistance persisted. Conservative theologians warned that overturning a heresy verdict would undermine Church infallibility. They argued, if the Church can err so gravely, what are future condemnations? This debate, played out in hushed conclaves, shaped the final verdict. In a dramatic private session, Pope Calixtus III, personally moved by petitions, declared, "Let truth rise above error." And so the final mystery was solved, a reluctant institution forced by history to atone. On July 7, 1456, the retrial's official verdict was read. Joan of Arc was declared innocent, her previous condemnation nullified. Of initio, accuser records were expunged. Families of victims compensated, judges posthumously defrocked or exiled. The Church publicly acknowledged its failure, a rare act of contrition. But the story did not end there. Over the centuries, Joan's legacy soared. In 1920, Pope Benedict XV canonized her not simply as a saint, but as a martyr of justice. Statues of Joan sprung up in Paris, New Orleans, and beyond. Civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. invoked her courage. Feminist movements hailed her as an icon of female agency. Today, Joan's portrait adorns museum walls. Her name graces schools and churches worldwide. She stands as a testament to the power of a single voice against injustice. And in an age of whistleblowers, activists, and truth seekers, her story resonates more than ever. Joan's battle did not end on the pyre. It continued in the halls of power, in hidden archives, and in the hearts of those who demand accountability. Her retrial turned the church inside out and showed that even the mightiest can falter. Who are today's Joans? The modern-day martyrs fighting corruption and oppression? Comment below and share your thoughts. If Joan's story inspired you, hit subscribe and join Unseen Saints for more untold tales of faith, power and truth. Next episode, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, the saint who faced death to save a stranger.